The roaring, predatory growl of the $400,000 custom supercar filled the pristine, white-tiled workshop, vibrating through the glass walls of the executive office. Christian, the arrogant shop owner, adjusted his designer tie, looking at the dirty floor mats with total disgust. He believed that because his name was on the building, he owned the genius of the quiet engineer who had spent 3 sleepless nights programming the vehicle's complex engine control unit. Christian was about to make a ruthless, greedy power move to steal the massive commission for himself, completely blind to the fact that the technician he was firing on the spot was the only human being holding the digital key to the hypercar's ignition. Within less than an hour, the elite client would arrive to collect his asset. The vehicle's high-tech security system would permanently lock down, and Christian's entire multi-million-dollar business would hang by a single, incredibly expensive thread. The cool, blue LED strip lights of Vanguard Performance detailing reflected perfectly off the flawless carbon fiber hood of a rare, matte black McLaren 720S. Ryan, the shop's lead automotive electronics engineer, leaned over the open driver's side door, his diagnostic laptop resting on a padded stand. For 3 straight days, Ryan had been rewriting the fuel injection maps and tuning the complex dual-clutch transmission parameters for this specific vehicle. The owner of the car was an incredibly wealthy, notoriously impatient real estate tycoon named Victor, who had promised a massive bonus if the vehicle could hit its target track times by Friday afternoon. Ryan was a master of his craft. He didn't just upload pre-made software tunes. He wrote custom cryptographic security layers into the car's engine control unit, ECU, to ensure that the massive horsepower increase wouldn't accidentally destroy the delicate carbon-ceramic drivetrain. Suddenly, the heavy glass door of the main office slammed shut. Christian, the slick, smooth-talking owner of Vanguard Performance, stepped out into the workshop. He was wearing an expensive tailored suit, smelling of strong cologne, and holding a printout of the final invoice for Victor's car. "Step away from the laptop, Ryan," Christian said, his voice loud, arrogant, and dripping with condescension. "The car is fully tuned, Victor's wire transfer just cleared the bank, and your services are no longer required on this project." Ryan carefully detached his main diagnostic interface cable, looking up with a calm but tired expression. "I'm just running the final validation loop, Christian. The custom encryption handshake between the aftermarket ECU and the factory immobilizer needs to be verified, or the car's anti-theft module will flag the vehicle as stolen." Christian let out a patronizing laugh, waving his hand dismissively. "Save the techno-babble for someone who cares, kid." I looked at the invoice. "Your contract states you get a 15% commission on high-end performance tunes. That's nearly $6,000 for this one car. Quite frankly, you're overpaid. Anyone can plug an OBD2 cable into a dashboard and download a software file from the internet. I've watched you do it 3 times this week. It's not just downloading a file, Christian," Ryan replied, his voice flat and steady. "This is custom assembly code. If the proprietary digital signature isn't verified by the master hardware key—" "I said I don't care," Christian snapped, stepping aggressively into Ryan's personal space and shutting the diagnostic laptop with a loud click. "You're done. In fact, your entire freelance contract with Vanguard Performance is terminated effective immediately. Pack up your personal tools and get out of my shop. I'm not paying a mechanic $6,000 to press enter on a keyboard when I can just deliver the keys to Victor myself and keep 100% of the profit." The other mechanics in the shop went completely silent, keeping their heads down as Christian put on his display of corporate dominance. Ryan didn't argue. He didn't raise his voice, and he didn't try to explain the hidden architecture of the custom security firmware he had built from scratch. He calmly picked up his laptop, slipped a small ruggedized USB hardware dongle, the physical master decryption key into his pocket and packed his specialized digital tools into his backpack. "The car is all yours, Christian," Ryan said quietly, pulling his backpack over his shoulder. "Good luck with Victor's delivery." Next chapter. Christian smirked as the glass door clicked shut behind Ryan. He adjusted his silk tie, feeling a rush of absolute financial triumph. By firing the kid right before delivery, he had just saved $6,000 in commissions. To him, car tuning was nothing more than an expensive video game, and he was the master of the scoreboard. 10 minutes later, a sleek, long wheelbase luxury sedan pulled up to the shop's glass bay doors. Victor, the billionaire tycoon, stepped out. He was a terrifyingly serious man surrounded by 2 assistants, and he didn't like to wait. "Christian," Victor barked, walking straight toward the matte black McLaren without making eye contact. "Is my machine ready? I have a private track event in exactly 2 hours, and my transport truck is waiting outside." "Victor, welcome, my friend." Christian rolled out his best salesman smile, rubbing his hands together. "She's not just ready, she's a masterpiece. My shop personally overhauled the entire digital map. We unlocked an extra 180 horsepower. Let me show you what real engineering looks like." Christian walked over to the driver's side, opened the dihedral door with a flourish, and slipped into the carbon fiber bucket seat. Victor stood outside, crossing his arms, waiting for the signature roar of the modified V8 engine. Christian pressed his foot firmly onto the brake pedal and jammed the bright red engine start button. The digital dashboard flickered to life. The needles swept across the dials. But instead of the aggressive, deafening roar of the engine, the workshop remained completely, embarrassingly silent. Christian blinked. He pressed the button again. Nothing. Not even a starter click. Suddenly, a loud, continuous electronic beep echoed from the car's premium speakers. The beautiful central infotainment screen instantly went completely black, replaced by a harsh, pixelated red text block that read, "Critical error, ECU tamper detected. System anti-theft immobilizer active. Vehicle is dead, real estate. Secure master hardware, dongle to reset to activate." Christian's smile froze. A cold sweat instantly broke out along his collar. He aggressively mashed the start button 5 times in a row, but the transmission remained locked in park, and the steering wheel completely seized up. What Christian's greedy mind failed to comprehend was Ryan's custom security architecture. The aftermarket engine computer was programmed to run a continuous cryptographic loop. When Ryan unplugged his diagnostic suite and took the physical hardware dongle with him, the McLaren's computer waited exactly 15 minutes before locking the entire digital fuel rail. Without that physical USB key to verify the code's digital signature, the supercar was nothing more than a $400,000 paperweight. Victor stepped closer to the window, his expression turning dangerously cold as he looked down at the sweating shop owner. "Christian, why isn't my car starting?" Next chapter. It's just a standard safety cycle, Victor." Christian lied smoothly, his voice shaking as he forced a weak laugh. He frantically reached under the dashboard, blindly pulling at wires, hoping to find a hidden switch. You know these high-end British electronics, always doing a self-diagnostic. Give it 30 seconds. Victor looked at his multi-thousand-dollar watch, his eyes narrowing into slits. "I don't have 30 seconds, Christian. My transport truck costs $500 an hour just to idle outside. If this car isn't loaded in 10 minutes, you're not just losing your styling fee. You're paying for my lost track time and breach of contract." Christian panicked. He scrambled out of the car, sprinted into his glass office, and slammed the door. His hands were shaking so badly, he almost dropped his phone as he dialed the shop's senior software technician desk. Bypass it. Bypass the code right now. Christian screamed into the receiver. Victor is standing in the bay. Override the McLaren's anti-theft system from the main server. We can't, Christian, the technician replied, sounding completely terrified. I'm looking at the network log right now. Ryan didn't just upload a file. He locked the entire fuel injection sequence behind a hardware-encrypted 256-bit token loop. The master key isn't on our server. It's on the physical USB dongle that Ryan keeps in his pocket. Without that exact hardware key plugged into the car's primary data port, the factory immobilizer thinks the car is being stolen. The computer has completely locked down the transmission pods. Christian felt the room spin. His $6,000 corporate power move was collapsing into a multi-million-dollar disaster. Then call him. Tell him to give us the password. There is no password, boss. It's physical hardware architecture. You fired the only guy who can unlock the car, the technician said flatly. And if you keep cycling the ignition, the McLaren's emergency GPS will automatically alert the manufacturer's security center, and they will blacklist our shop's dealer license permanently. Christian looked through the glass window. Victor was now walking toward the office, his massive bodyguard following closely behind. Christian swallowed hard, unlocked his phone, and brought up Ryan's contact information. He hit dial, praying the kid would pick up. The phone rang 5 times before Ryan's calm, relaxed voice came through the speaker. Vanguard Performance support. This is Ryan. Next chapter. Christian gripped the phone like a lifeline, his voice dropping into an urgent, frantic whisper as he kept one eye on Victor through the glass. Ryan. Hey, buddy, it's Christian. Listen, we had a bit of a chaotic morning here at the shop. Things got tense, and I think we both said things we didn't mean. The McLaren has some weird digital glitch on the dashboard, and the team says you have the reset tool. Look, I'm a fair guy. I'll wire you your $6,000 commission right now, plus an extra $1,000 for your time. If you just run that USB key back over here, it'll take you 5 minutes. On the other side of town, Ryan was sitting in a quiet coffee shop, his diagnostic laptop open next to a warm pastry. His screen displayed a live, read-only telemetry feed of the McLaren's network system. He could see the exact error codes, the locked fuel pumps, and the rapidly rising temperature inside the workshop. It wasn't a glitch, Christian, Ryan replied, his voice completely level and unbothered. You told me that anyone can plug in a cable and press enter. You said I was overpaid dead weight and officially terminated my freelance contract. The moment you signed that termination paperwork, my liability insurance with Vanguard Performance was canceled. I am no longer legally authorized to modify or touch any customer vehicle in your shop. Through the window, Christian saw Victor reach the office door. The billionaire didn't bother knocking. His bodyguard pushed the heavy glass door open, stepping inside with a look that promised absolute ruin. Ryan, please, Christian gasped into the phone, turning his back to Victor to hide his trembling face. Victor is standing right in front of me. He's going to sue my shop into bankruptcy. I'll give you the $6,000. The $6,000 was for the work I already completed, which you tried to steal, Ryan said calmly, taking a sip of his coffee. But to re-engage my services as an emergency independent consultant, establish a new high-risk insurance rider, and deploy back to your shop with a proprietary hardware key, that falls under a completely different corporate rate. Victor stepped up to Christian's desk, slamming his heavy gold ring against the polished wood. Christian, 5 minutes, or my lawyers dismantle this shop piece by piece. Christian held up a desperate, shaking finger to Victor, crying into the phone. Whatever it is, Ryan, just name the price. What do you want to unlock the car? My emergency call-out fee for a corrupted ECU recovery is exactly $15,000, Ryan stated flatly. Paid up front via a digital invoice link, and you have exactly 8 minutes to clear the payment. If the car isn't unlocked by then, the internal security software will assume a brute force theft attempt and permanently wipe the factory transponder codes. If that happens, the vehicle will have to be flatbedded to the McLaren factory in England, and they will charge you $80,000 for a total wiring harness replacement. Christian felt his breath leave his lungs. $15,000. It was more than double the original commission, but looking into the cold, unforgiving eyes of Victor, he knew he had absolutely no choice. "Send the link," Christian choked out, his voice practically a squeak. "Send it now." Next chapter. Christian's fingers were trembling so violently he could barely type his secure corporate banking password. On the desk right in front of him, Victor stood like a stone statue, his arms crossed, watching the pathetic display with cold disgust. "The payment link is in your inbox, Christian." Ryan's voice buzzed through the speaker, calm and professional. "The clock is ticking. You have 6 minutes left before the factory immobilizer goes into permanent brick mode." Christian didn't even reply. He furiously clicked through his commercial banking app, bypassing 3 security prompts, and hit the final Confirm Wire Transfer button. He watched the digital loading wheel spin for 2 agonizing seconds before his corporate account flashed with a massive, painful deduction. Minus $15,000. Over at the coffee shop, Ryan watched the green confirmation block light up on his laptop screen. He closed the lid, slid it into his backpack, and stood up. "Transaction verified, Christian. I'm stepping into my car now. I suggest you keep your hands completely off the McLaren's dashboard until I arrive." Exactly 7 minutes later, the roar of a tuned hatchback filled the Vanguard Performance driveway. Ryan walked calmly into the workshop through the side door, wearing his casual hoodie and backpack, completely unbothered by the high-stakes tension radiating through the building. Christian rushed out of his office, his face a mix of desperate relief and intense humiliation. "Ryan, thank God! Hurry up! We have less than 2 minutes before the lock becomes permanent." Ryan didn't speed up his pace. He walked past Christian as if the man were invisible, acknowledging Victor with a respectful, polite nod. He opened the driver's door of the matte black supercar, knelt down in the footwell, and produced the small brushed metal USB hardware dongle from his pocket. He smoothly slotted it into the hidden master data port beneath the steering column. Instantly, the loud, irritating warning beep stopped. The pixelated red warning block vanished from the central infotainment system, replaced by the clean, glowing McLaren factory logo. The digital instrument cluster lit up with bright, clear telemetry data, displaying a beautiful, simple message. "System clear. Ignition sequence authorized." Ryan stepped back out of the vehicle, gesturing calmly to the driver's seat. "The custom cryptographic loop is secured, Victor. The fuel injection rails are fully pressurized, and the new track map is active. She's ready for the circuit." Victor didn't say a word to Christian. He walked straight past the trembling shop owner, stepped into the carbon fiber bucket seat, and hit the red start button. The $400,000 hypercar instantly erupted into a deafening, predatory roar, the massive V8 engine vibrating the very foundations of the concrete workshop. The exhaust notes were incredibly crisp, a testament to Ryan's flawless genius engineering. A massive grin finally broke across Victor's stern face. He looked out the window at Ryan and gave him a sharp nod of approval. "Incredible work, kid," Victor shouted over the roar of the engine. He reached into his leather jacket, pulled out a thick envelope of crisp cash, the original $5,000 performance bonus, and tossed it directly into Ryan's hands. You're the only real asset this shop has." Victor put the supercar into gear, the dual-clutch transmission engaging with mechanical perfection, and smoothly accelerated out of the glass bay doors onto the awaiting transport truck. As the sound of the engine faded down the street, the workshop fell into a heavy, suffocating silence. Christian stood there, completely broke, stripped of his dignity, and out $15,000 of his own corporate money, all because he thought he could cheat the smartest guy in the room. Ryan zipped up his backpack, tucked the cash envelope into his pocket, and looked at his former boss one last time. "Have a great weekend, Christian. Let me know if you ever need another consultation."